Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody who joins us. Ukraine Media Center Ukraine Forum continues its operation today. We have a number of events prepared for you, and I want to tell you the brief schedule of events for today. At 14:30, joining us online will be Vasyl Bodnar, Ukraine's ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary to Turkey. We will be talking about the mitigation of the consequences of the earthquake in Turkey. We will be talking about the circumstances behind the grain deal and international relations. At 16:30, we will have a presentation of collection of works by Grigory Skovoroda to commemorate his 300th birthday. It will be presented by the Minister of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine, Oleksandr. Joining him during the presentation will be Oleksandr Khorunzhyy, Ukrainian publisher, director general, and owner of Folio Publishing House, and Oleksandr, head of the Center for Research of Political Values, editor of the book Skovoroda and We. And now we will be talking about the adverse weather that hit Ukraine recently. Joining us in this studio is Oleksandr Khorunzhyy, press officer of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine. So please, Mr. Oleksandr, tell us about the mitigation of the consequences of this adverse weather. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Since March 28, we received the information from the meteorological center of Ukraine of adverse weather coming and change of weather conditions, and they communicated all the threats that may emerge due to this, and reminded about the compliance of the traffic rules and exercising of extreme caution due to the icing on the roads and strong winds. So we warned the people not to stay under structures, under trees. So we were prepared for this situation. We have about 7,000 rescuers on duty on a daily basis, and about 1,000 units of material, which is aimed not only mitigation of fires and consequences of shellings by the occupiers, but is also involved in the mitigation of the consequences of adverse weather. Well, due to the adverse weather, according to the reports from Ukrenergo, the strength winds and sticking of the wet snow as of 29th of March, there were about 355 settlements cut off the electric power supply in Kyiv, Chernihiv, Mykolaiv, and other regions of Ukraine, 12 in total. As of today, 9 o'clock in the morning, out of those 355, only 12 settlements remain without power in 2 regions of Ukraine. And I think that as of today, the rescuers of the State Emergency Service, in cooperation with the power technicians from Ukrenergo, mitigated the consequences of adverse weather and reconnected those settlements to the electric power supply. As to the operations of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine within those last days, 29th of March and 30th of March, in the night, we got more than 400 servicemen and more than 100 units of material involved in mitigation of adverse weather conditions. We rescued 1 person, 63 units of material which were stuck. Well, 63 vehicles that were stuck in the road were towed. 64 trees that fell on the roadways were cut and moved away. The wind tore the roofs of some structures, which were removed from hazardous areas. Also, we pumped more than 2,000 liters of water upon the spills and those works were taking part mostly in Vinnytsia, Zhytomyr, Odessa region and Cherkasy regions. For example, in Odessa region, the wind and sticking of the wet snow resulted in falling of a tree which fell over a woman. The rescuers came on spot about 14 o'clock during the day. They cut the tree, moved it away, and pulled the woman from under that fallen tree. They handed her over to the medical service personnel, who delivered her to the hospital with injuries. So generally that's all the information that we have at this moment regarding the mitigation of consequences of adverse weather. Mr. Oleksandr, you mentioned that unfortunately one person got injured. We see that the weather is getting better today out in the street, but according to the weather forecast, with those conditions may be repeated next week. I mean, they may be the same that they were within the last 3 or 4 days. Are we ready for mitigation of consequences? Is the State Emergency Service ready for the mitigation of consequences of such adverse weather? We are always ready. We keep monitoring the situation together with Meteorological Service of Ukraine. They warn us about the storms. We promulgate this information. We post them in our social networks on the website of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine to warn the people about the threats related to the changes of weather conditions. I would not recommend the drivers to change their tires to summer tires. Wait a little bit until the situation stabilizes. We keep monitoring the relevant information as to the lifting of the level of water in the rivers. We have information that on the 31st of March the level of water in the river of Pripyat will get 0.1, 0.3 meters higher. It's all related to Polski and Kamenkaczyrsky districts in the Volyn region. In the rivers, the level of the rivers of Postlubeshev and Postkashytsa will also be lifting. We have all the information from the local governments. We can pump water from there to save and to mitigate to save the ecosystem and to mitigate any consequences of adverse weather. This is what we were doing the previous time. We reacted immediately and fulfilled our duties as necessary. We understand that the level of water is going up in the rivers. Do you have any advice for the people in this regard? Like, for example, withhold from sailing in the water or using boats? Well, we don't expect any vast flooding, but maybe just in those districts that I mentioned there is also information about the left bank of Dniester. The water level may go up there from 0.2 to 0.7 meters. Is the level that doesn't allow us asserting about some significant flooding. Some agricultural lands may be flooded just to minor extent, but as soon as we get any respective information from Meteorological Center of Ukraine, we have specialists working there, and we will react immediately to any of their warnings. Well, I'm having a question. You mentioned there was one person injured. Sometimes the aerial lines get damaged due to the adverse weather conditions. Could you please inform our citizens how should they react to this? Whom should they call in case they see that, for example, near a children's playing ground or the school or other educational institution, they see the damaged aerial line? Well, you can call to Ukrenergo or you can call State Emergency Service of Ukraine, and we will forward their request to a relevant service or agency. If you call 101, our operator will forward the request to the relevant specialist, and a team of Ukrenergo, for example, may come and mitigate the consequences of such damage. So in this particular case that you're mentioning, thank you for this information. We hope that the weather will be getting better, will be more loyal to us, and that the spring is really coming finally. Thank you for joining our broadcast, dear colleagues. I'm reminding you, our next briefing is at 14:30. We will be talking with the Ukraine's ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary to Turkey. Work together for our victory, and glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Thank you.